it's proud of our group, proud of our fight at the end. It was a hard fought game against two good teams. I think Ohio State had two of the elite playmakers, not just in our league, but college basketball, and hard shot makers. But as we always do, this league is loaded with great teams and really good players. We just saw two of them, and now we get to move to Michigan, and we get a couple more. And so it's not time to hang your head. It's time to move on. And we last game with Michigan, obviously Hunter didn't play. He's one of the elite players in this league. So it's you can really kind of scrap a little bit of the what we saw in the last game, but they're shooting the ball better. Houston's playing better. They're a team that is very lethal in transition. They get a lot of threes in transition. We got to be dialed in and take that away. And then make them guard us. And they're playing a lot more zone. They're pressing some. Now they did not do that with Phil in their last game against Rutgers. But again, we got to be dialed into all the little things. And that's what I'm stressing with our group. This thing's about the little things. It's about communication. It's about talking. It's about charges. It's about setting great screens. It's about playing harder. It's all the little things, and you handle the little things, and a lot of other positive things will happen. So on to Michigan, and expect a hard fought game on national television. We'll see what it looks like.
Good morning, Coach. Could you talk a little bit about the matchup between Kofi and Hunter Dickinson? That's going to be one of the big storylines. Seems like two players with two different styles of play.
Yeah, I think the one thing that Hunter's done is he's playing a lot more, maybe because of personnel, away from the basket. That's not to say he's not gifted. He's a very, very gifted. He's got elite hands. He's got got the ability to pick and pop. But where he really hurts you is not necessarily just shooting it out there, but passing it. Diabate back into play now gives them a lot of size up front, and he's a guy that allows Hunter to play outside. So I would expect them to try to draw Kofi away from the rim a little bit. It'll be a hard-fought battle between those two as it was last year.
What else can you tell us about Michigan and some of the keys for your team defensively?
Yeah, we've got to guard. We've got to take away transition. They're very, very good in transition, and you've got Brooks playing at a very high level, averaging 14, 15 a game here over the last 5 or 6 games. He's a guy that never comes off the floor for them. He's their version of Trent. He makes shots. They run action to him. And then Caleb Houston is a guy that had 5 threes in their last game. He's playing at the speed of a college game now, where maybe he wasn't, and he's more acclimated to it. He's running really hard. He's doing a lot of positive things for them. So it's a big part of it. And then you've got to handle their changing defenses when they throw that at you.
Thanks, Coach.
Brad, I know you said that you implemented coordinators in the preseason with your assistants, and that's why it worked out as well when you got ejected. But is it safe to assume that maybe like a COVID protocol was put in place to where if you got popped and you weren't even be allowed on the bench, that's kind of what allowed the seamless transition to happen when you got ejected Thursday night?
Yeah, maybe. I think the one thing that's, our coaches coach now, and I mean, they're not just figureheads. They're not just guys that go stand at, that come stand and practice and don't get involved. These guys know every aspect of what's going on. We meet daily. we're dialed in on specific sides, and that's helped us a great deal. I feel great about where that's gotten our program. It was a change we made. I like it. And again, so I think it helps, Chester be really focused on what the other teams are doing offensively. He makes a lot of changes for us there, as does Jeff on the offensive side. And so it's there's a lot of suggestions there, and those guys are great at what they do.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
Hey, Coach, in the past, you've spoken a lot about how much you like transfers to be able to come in and sit out and learn the philosophy of the program and everything. But Alfonso didn't have that opportunity. He still had a lot of success. What do you think has allowed him to be so successful?
Well, he's a terrific young guy. I mean, he is a high character kid. He works extremely hard. His work ethic has allowed him to fit right in. And it's not as easy as he's made it look. Just learning different language, different teammates, he's excelling in the classroom at a high level in grad school. I mean, he is, he's very, very well-rounded. And, if you're not that, it gets pretty hard to be successful. But, his work ethic allows him to. He's got tremendous, give a damn factor, in everything he does, not just basketball, but school. And, so there's an internal drive there that he has that's allowed for a lot of that.
You obviously talk a lot about the need to get in the gym and do it. Alfonso was in the transfer portal. You're scouting any of these guys in the transfer portal. How do you, I guess, estimate or gauge whether or not they're going to be hard enough workers for your program and they're going to fit in that area?
Yeah, I mean, when you make phone calls and then you dig deep, you find out. And we obviously had some connections and through his Puerto Rican ties, and you dig into those, you find out what he's about. The shortcomings, the strengths, and you make a determination on whether those positives are more than the shortcomings, knowing you're only going to have them a year. And the biggest challenge is how much can you change and mold guys in a year. That's the hardest thing to do. That's why transfers, 1-year transfers are having the success he's had. You commend him because it's really, really hard to do.
Hey, Brad, what are the, I guess, challenges and a new coach, but a temporary coach at Michigan compared to what you saw earlier? What do they do different with Phil than they did with Juwan, and how do you guys approach that?
Well, I think we'll find out as we continue to go. The first game was they were pretty limited. You had 2 guys that were out that didn't play. He didn't play as much. You start looking at those guys' minutes, and I mean, they were all 35 to 40 minutes, pretty close. There wasn't a lot of change going on. They did what they do offensively. You're not going to reinvent the wheel. Phil's one of the most successful coaches in the history of the game. So, that's not like he hasn't slid over and been in that seat before. He's been there for a whole bunch of games. So, how the 2 guys coming back impact what they do, I don't know. We'll find out. It's kind of a crapshoot. But the biggest change is they didn't play zone, and they've been playing a good amount of zone in some previous games.
And then, do you have a timeline on RJ's recovery, and what are the challenges for a freshman who was really starting to get his feet wet and find his groove, and now he's got to pause for however long?
I don't have a timeline. He'll meet on Monday. I know that, back with the doctor in terms of what his mobility was, what his mobility is able to start getting back to in terms of when you have a procedure done on your in your stomach area, in your abdomen. You're not going to try to rush anything there. But he'll meet early next week. We hope we can start getting him moving again and see what that looks like. And I don't have a timeline, but yeah, it's not easy. I mean, it was his time. It was his time to really start to be an impactful player. And I made that comment before the Michigan State game. I just felt like he was ready to be thrust into a little bit different role with some different expectations, and was excited about getting him going here as we head down the stretch of the season and the Big Ten tournament. But obviously you get sidetracked a little bit, and that expectation is not going to change. We'll see how he comes back and go from there.
Thanks, Brad.
Brett, does your relationship with Kofi allow you to be harder on him in a sense? He said he wants that from you guys. What do you have? Is that kind of like Io, where you can be harder on him after a game where he goes for 12-3?
Yeah, very much. You can't have a very good program, in my opinion, if you can't coach your best players, and you can't demand more from them. And that it's been that way with Trent. It's been that way with Io. I'm a guy that puts really unrealistic expectations on those guys and demand more from them than they probably demand from themselves. But for me, that's what keeps pushing them to be better than they think they can be. So I coach Kofi hard. I coached Io hard. Great players are never going to truly be great players unless they can accept coaching and deal with it. And otherwise they slide back into just being a pretty mediocre player if they don't take coaching.
Call as well, Brett?
He is.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad, you mentioned Thursday night just about how sometimes offense has been Kofi overload and you're trying to get more guys into actions. Just how do you strike that balance, though, where you obviously want to get the ball to, National Player of the Year candidate, but, maybe that's not always going to be, the option.
It's some of our best offensive sequences have been, obviously with Plummer and Trent going. You can think back to different games this year. The challenge is, in Ohio State's case, some of the defensive stuff that they did, to Plummer in the second half, taking some of that stuff away. And that's again why you've got to have multiple options. But we saw Jake step up. You score, 83 points or whatever. That should be enough to win. And Kofi missed 9 layups. So, he makes half those and you're in a different perspective. But again, we're still trying to find that right balance. And I say that right balance, it's not to eliminate that dry spell. What creates that? And it's missed shots, it's a couple turnovers, it's missed free throw. We got a chance to go up 9 and Coleman misses a front end of a 1-on-1. We had DeMonte's flagrant foul, takes a possession away. All those things become momentum killers. And you've got to eliminate those, and you got to make those plays.
I guess maybe how much of it is just the fact that it's late February and teams have had a season worth of film to scout, and maybe is it tougher to run offense now? Maybe in the Big Ten, especially.
Well, every game's its own identity. You guys not like any of the shots Kofi got the first half? My goodness, those are the same shots he's made. I think, we got, Plummer made 8 threes. I think we got him the shots, that we felt good about. I thought Trent turned a few down. We played some 5-out late, midway through the second half. I love that with Coleman and some of those actions. And we got great looks. And truly the only stop that they made late was the non-foul call on Trent at the end of the game, where he gets put on his head. And that was the only stop. So I think offense we're getting the right shots. I really believe that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned wanting Trent to be more aggressive. What do you want that to look like in terms of his approach? And then is it trying to run more stuff to get him going early? Or is it, I know you said that he's maybe turned down some looks as well.
I lost you on the back half of that, Derek.
I know you said that you wanted to get Trent going. Is that maybe trying to run some stuff to get him going earlier? I know you also mentioned he's turned down some looks, so it's just a matter of taking those.
Yeah, I just want him to take them. I want Trent thirsty to score. And when he's that way, Trent is the ultimate team guy. He's trying to do, he knew we had Plummer going the other night. He's running offense to get Plummer going. He's making great passes to Kofi. And yet they went under him twice on a ball screen. He's got to shoot those shots. And, we don't need to be saved by Trent in the last 6 minutes. And that's the only time he's looking to score. We need that. He needs to find that comfortable balance. And I talked with him yesterday about that.
I know Coleman's becoming an important piece in general with his energy, but when you look at a like-sized guy at the 4 and Diabate, how important is he in this particular game?
Huge. And Coleman's a guy that we can do different things with. Like I said, I mean, his passing, his ability to drive the basketball. He's finally learned a 2-foot jump stop that worked out great for him in the Ohio State game and spray it, and he got fouled. And but defensively, he's the guy that the shot EJ hit was special. I mean, there's not 5 guys in college basketball making that shot over a 6'10" guy with lean and fadeaway. And that was elite defense on his part, just better offense.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad, you were clearly frustrated on Thursday. Have you chatted with anybody at the Big Ten about officiating in that game or a bigger discussion about it?
I lost all that. I didn't hear anything about that.
You were obviously frustrated on Thursday. Have you talked with anybody in the Big Ten about officiating either in that game or a larger discussion about it here in the last few days?
Yes, I'll leave it between me and the office.
Gotcha. If I could, one more, you had talked about, having just a couple curveballs in your pocket right now, be it RJ when he's back or Coleman or Luke. Well, it's kind of late to have that. What kind of advantage does that give you, or maybe even challenges to work some of those curveballs into what you guys have going now?
I didn't quite catch all of that. I don't know if it's my signal or yours.
You talked about having some curveballs on Thursday night, be it Coleman or RJ when he's back, to try to work those in now. I would imagine there's both some advantages, but also maybe some challenges and kind of figuring that out.
Yeah, you double down on what you do really, really well. You want to keep doing those things. But it's I go back to, some of my earlier days, at SFA. Having a wrinkle, last year, evaluating last year, we didn't play in the short pocket enough. We were, and that was more limited because of Georgie and Kofi's abilities and what we were committed to and just rolling all the time. Coleman gives us that. RJ gives us some ability to play open. You put Curbelo in an open court, and those are all things that can be very positive for us as we move down the stretch and stuff we've been working on in practice.
Thank you, Brad.
Brad, you mentioned Kofi, but is there a way to get him to play meaner in a sense? And I don't mean like hurting somebody, but in a sense, bigger people like him tend to play subconsciously like I'm going to hurt somebody and kind of get him out of that mentality. And you asked, dude, I like the shots he took. Yeah, but I would have preferred he dunked the ball a little bit more instead of lay it up. Is that a conversation that's happened?
Matt, you get said in my conversation. That's what the hell I told him. There's when you get beat on, I can't even imagine. There is a play where EJ Liddell is sitting on his head, literally sitting on his head. and he is getting his arms broke at the elbows, getting crushed on a smackdown, and there's no call. And at some point, when is you know, I mean, he literally says it all the time. I feel like I could kill somebody every time if I just pivot. And yet, you know, he makes one pivot the other night, and again, it was an offensive foul. It's so hard to even tell him what to do. The main thing we've tried to stress with Kofi for 3 years is just maintain your composure, and don't let that happen. And yeah, you know, do you need to play angry? Probably a little more. I don't know. I'm at a loss. I don't know what to tell him. And you know, when we get it called like it was last night or the other night, where there's, you know, he brought the ball down. Some of them were probably clean, but you know, some of those were just not. And he's got to play more, you know, in a more violent way.
Thanks, Brad.
Coach, you talked about striking a balance with Trent. Seems like a pretty big thing with the Curbelo as well. How do you balance Andre's ability to go get a bucket, you know, with the ball in his hands, with the need to move the ball and operate within the structure of the offense?
Bello was terrific the other night. He was terrific. He played great. And again, it's you know, a lot of it is goes back to a little bit of what we did with Io, you know, and it's you know, Io could go get a shot anytime he wanted. All we had to do is put him in a ball screen. You know, Curbelo can go make a play anytime we want. All we have to do is put him in a ball screen. We have to choose, you know, when to do that. The coverages that we see from other teams determine that, and you can't go multiple possessions without other guys touching the ball. And that can happen very easily when you start ball screening all the time. And if you know, that's the challenge. So you've got ball screens, you've got continuity, you've got mass movement, and we run all of those things so that everybody can stay involved. And yet you've got a guy with a great gift in Curbelo who can go get one anytime and get in the paint every time. And you know, it's basically he makes the right reads most every single time.
One more quick one, if I could. What'd you think of watching the tape? What'd you think of Luke Goody's play against?
Great, terrific, tough as nails, chased balls, had a 3 go in and out, gritty. You know, he's got a great knack of chasing the basketball. We need his rebounding. He played great defense, a couple of possessions on when he was matched up on EJ. Terrific. A+.
Thank you.
Brad, if I could
Yeah,
get
hey,
one-
Coach, I guess kind of a different angle here. I know you always appreciate the Orange Crush's support and them making noise and everything, but Coach Holtman said something after the game about things that were being said at one or two of his players, and EJ Liddell sent out a tweet yesterday. Is there kind of an importance of them striking a balance with not crossing a line with things that are said or not said?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that until obviously there was stuff said. You know, I think that it's obviously a small percentage. We got a great home court. The one thing I, you know, personally don't do is ever comment about another person's crowd. I think that we've got great fans, and we want to be we want to be as classy can be, and still be the best fan base in the country. And if one or two or a small percentage carried that across, that's not us. That's not who we want to be. It's not what we're about. But you know, we've got the best fans in the country. I say that all the time. And you know, he's a terrific player. And if something was said, you know, my apologies. I didn't know about it. But you know, again, you know, I don't comment on anybody else's either. So I'm a pretty easy target.
Hey, Brad, if I could just kind of a random one here, and I know you have 3 guys in the 22 class, but Ty's obviously in state, and and they're making a run here a little bit in the postseason. I'm sure you've seen stat lines and game film. What have your impressions been of what you've seen out of him this year?
Oh, pretty good. What is there not to like? There's nothing not to like. He is do it all. He's one of the best. I think he's one of the best players in the country. I think he's one of the most ready players in the country. Physically, passes it, IQ, athletically, great body. Yeah, and he's been pretty good. Makes me smile.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, Coach.